Hello, guys. This is Ty, aka the Flip Man. Today's video is an actual testimonial video from a student out in the Mile High area, Denver, Colorado. His name is Adam. I'm going to bring him on in a second, but wanted to share his story with you. I know a lot. This does a lot for people to see someone else's experience besides mine. And let you know that this is real. But before we get into that, don't forget you can take advantage of the 100 plus videos on YouTube and you can go directly there through howtofliphouses.net. If you're interested in the 1-800-SELL-A-HOUSE, becoming an affiliate in your market, just hit me up. You can call or text me at 205-492-3425. Don't forget, if you need a coach and mentor, along with 2 courses on wholesaling houses and apartment buildings, go to junkers101.com. Okay, enough of that. On to why we're here. Adam, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay. Adam is in Denver, and from what my phone says, and I normally program individuals in through the date that we initially started. I think it's been since 2009, right? That we've been back and forth, right? You've been a student.
Yeah, it's been since September of 2009.
Okay.
And that's when I first heard of real estate investing. May of 2009. I went to a 3-day seminar with the Rich Dad coaching group, and it was worthwhile, but it was way too much information to be applicable to anything. And and I bought your course. It was September 2009.
Okay. All right. Adam, what got you started? You said you finally got interested in 2009. Could you tell about your initial, bought other stuff before you said?
Yeah. Okay. I bought, it's kind of a funny story, but when I graduated from high school, I had a dream of doing music, and I was playing bass guitar, acoustic guitar, and songwriting. I still do the songwriting today, and a huge fanatic of hip hop music, but that's like where my real passion's at. But when I graduated high school, I had no idea what I was going to do for money. I mean, all my teachers told me I should go to college, this and that, but there is something missing from the whole go to college equation, because number one, I didn't want a job. It's like I didn't want a typical job. So I was looking and looking and looking. I had an ex-girlfriend who told me about Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I read that book, and I was like, maybe real estate will be the thing. And that's how I first ever heard of real estate investing, was from reading that book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and then Retire Young, Retire Rich by him. And I went, maybe my thinking is right, because there's obviously someone else out there, a really big name like Robert Kiyosaki, who is saying that there is a different way. So since I read those books, that's what started my journey.
Okay. All right. So, and I guess then you stumbled into me, and I know it took you a minute to do a deal, but you were always hitting me up. I'm like, that's always encouraging to me, because everybody's situation is not the same. You have other things going on in your life. So tell us how you, I guess, number one, you didn't give up, but just take us through the process and how long it actually took.
Yeah. Okay. So this is why I really wanted to do a testimonial, because you were the first coach and person that I ever bought a course from, that was actually simplistic and applicable, which was most important. It always eased my mind on not overcomplicating this business, because like you said, it's so simple. Right now I have a mentor I'm an acquisitions manager for, who I work with, only work with. And but in the beginning, in 2009, I bought the course. I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. I put out probably like 100 bandit signs the first month, just stuck to what you were saying. I was getting phone calls and whatnot, but the winter time, it's pretty brutal here. So I wasn't doing bandit signs, and I thought that's all you should do, when it comes to wholesaling. I took it kind of literal as far as marketing goes. And so what happened is spring of 2010, I got into network marketing, and I was with a company called Legal Shield for 2 years. So that's what caused
Prepaid legal.
A break. Yeah, prepaid legal is what it was beforehand.
Former prepaid. That's interesting. Not to cut you off. That's what I was doing before I got involved in real estate. I was trying to do. Let me just say, wow, I didn't know that. Go ahead, though.
Man, it's a small world. We have pretty similar backgrounds. Yeah, that's what I was doing, and it was great. I loved the people. I still have the membership, but as far as the business structure, I'm kind of not a lazy person, but I try to keep things simplistic. And with my organization at the time, they were overcomplicating the business. They weren't following what we're supposed to do, and it was a tough sell. So for me, I was getting impatient with the process. So I ended up leaving. It was like, well, maybe I'll get back into real estate. So that's what I did. At the start of 2011, I officially quit prepaid legal shield beginning of 2012. So I was technically in it for 2 years, but didn't really start the real estate endeavor until beginning of 2011. And something always came up. So life always hit me in the face with something. I either lost a job or ran out of marketing money or wasn't following up with sellers and missed out on the deal. Something always came up, long story short. And I did my first deal not until January 2014. It took me that long. It took about 3 years. And but I just never quit because I kept putting out, signs when I had the money, kept writing yellow letters when I had the money. I was only working at Starbucks since summer of 2011. Before then, I was working at, I don't know, like 10 different jobs. I mean, again, I've never been a good employee. I've always been really good with my work ethic, just not a good person that likes to be told what to do, And so, yeah, it took about that long, kind of trying to sum it up as much as I can. And it was actually from bird dogging a deal I found on Zillow, of all things. I made $500 then in January. But that was technically the first time I ever made money with real estate. But it wasn't until the beginning of this year that I actually made a few $1,000s. I made $3,000 beginning of this year. And since then, it's been nonstop. Because I remember one of the first videos I saw from you, you said once you get a real estate deal and you make $3,000, $5,000, whatever, you're in the black. And that's, if you know how to spend your money on marketing, it's no joke.
So what was your actual first deal? I think you mentioned a bird dog situation, but what was your actual first deal? How did that go down, if you remember?
Oh man, it was so simple. I found a deal in Inglewood that was on Zillow, and all I did was, I was looking on Zillow. I found this deal. It was, forgot the exact street address, but it was for like $115,000. In the Denver market, I was like, okay, that already strikes out as a deal because it's a 3-bedroom, and especially in Inglewood, for 115, the median ARV is about 225, maybe 250. So I already knew off the bat it was a deal if it was a real seller. So I contacted her on the contact form because her phone number wasn't on there, and she gave me a call the next day. Said, yes, I have a house. It's pretty banged up, and I was at work at Starbucks when she gave me a call. So when I heard the voicemail while I was on my break, I just gave her a call right then and there. And I told her, yes, my name is Adam. I'm a real estate investor. I'm a cash buyer. How can I help you with your property? And, she just gave me the basic rundown, immediately scheduled an appointment with her, and I took a look at the house. But I think this is why it took me so long to do a deal, is speed of execution and fearful of putting a property under contract, honestly. Because what I did with this deal is I was like, oh man, I don't know if it's going to be a deal still. I don't even know if I got the right contract. I don't know what I'm doing. So there's this guy, Jim, that's in my area, and he was a local investor, and he still buys houses till this day. But I knew he was a real cash buyer because he always had projects going on. So he was the first person I thought of calling, and I said, I'm negotiating this deal. Already met with the seller, took photos. I made a first offer for $75,000 because it needed so much structural repair in the basement. The concrete was really running, it was getting pretty bad, and it was making the house unleveled. And so that's why I offered her such a lowball offer. And she was like, I have one other buyer that wants it for 85. And to me, I was just like, good. I didn't think anything of it. I was like, no, our offer is still 75. I told her about my, partner, which is, he just played like, yeah, I'm his partner. We do deals together. Luckily, he was very honest and a good person to work with. And he was like, yeah, 75 is the best we can do. This was negotiating was going on during December, and then he closed on it the first week of January because he's like, yeah, I made the offer for 78 and she took it, so I'm gonna pay you $500 up front, and then it's gonna be $1,500 if I make any money off of this after closing, on the sell side. So he paid me $500 up front after closing when he got back in town from visiting family. I think it was in like Minnesota or something. And we met at a Panera Bread down in Denver near the Cherry Creek area. And he just gave it to me, $500 cash. I was just like, I played like I got paid before, but in my head, I was just like, Jesus, I can't believe I made any money at all just for telling somebody about a real estate deal, And but that's how simple this business can be. You can just refer a deal to somebody and they'll pay you as long as the integrity's there. And I recommend people sign maybe like a finder's fee agreement just to make sure there's no litigation or whatever, no conflicts of interest or whatever legal lease there's going to be involved in case there is a conflict. But it's like what you always said, what kept me what I kept in mind when I worked with buyers was, if they're going to question how much you're making or have a problem, it's probably someone you don't want to work with anyway.
That's it. So are you still doing deals that way where you're not actually putting them under contract, or that was just like your first deal, you were glad to make some money off of it, or how are you going about it now as far as securing your position within a transaction? Because let me just say this, like you found that deal on Zillow. That's what I tell people, is that when you find properties online like that, you have to have a special type of buyer. Yeah, because exactly. He didn't need you. You didn't you didn't have it under contract. If he did his due diligence and seen that the property was out there for sale, once he had the address, there's no reason for you. So that's why it's important that your deals start, you're the one that initiate all advertising, not the seller, not another wholesaler. It can be done, but again, in this situation, you had a buyer ready to go, and he knew the area. He just heard the numbers. He didn't have to do any due diligence. So that's what I call a special type of buyer. But a lot of buyers are going to do their due diligence, and once they see it's already being advertised online, whether it's on MLS, Zillow, or a combination of both, it makes it difficult to do a deal because they can, the seller's information or a method of contacting them is available to them if it's advertised online. But again, I just wanted to add.
The video cut out a little bit. I'm not sure if you can still hear me.
Yeah, I hear you fine. I hear you fine. It cut out on my end, but I hear you.
Okay. But yeah, you're exactly right, because if it wasn't for that cash buyer being a real buyer for one, but actually having integrity, I could see why he wouldn't have even paid me anything, because he's like, well, he could have lied and said, yeah, I already know about that deal, especially if he saw it was on Zillow, beforehand. He could have been like, yeah, and that's where, where we come in as a wholesaler, I think the thing that felt like the biggest gray area for me was what I like to hear, what I hear all the time from my mentor I work with now, and predominantly the guy I'm the acquisition manager for, is we're in the marketing business first, real estate second, you know,
Exactly.
because the only reason why we have any value as a wholesaler is because we're finding deals and creating deals first before anybody else. Because a lot of people go, oh, why would they need me? They're thinking too much as like, it's like the difference between an investor and a real estate broker.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're thinking like brokers and employees way too much. And it's like, as wholesalers, we're not employees, we're not brokers. You know, we're strictly investors, and assigning contracts and stuff like that is just an exit strategy. I mean, there's actually been a deal that we did where we had to assign the contract to an LLC for 1031 exchange tax purposes. So it's like, okay, we didn't even assign a deal to another buyer, but assignment of contract was still necessary to get a deal done. And that's what people need to understand, is it's not like some kind of secret, esoteric strategy only wholesalers know. It's always been an exit strategy for basically emergency situations, but people saw it as a way to make money. And I think that's where the gurus started coming in, and it started getting really popular and stuff.
Yeah, I try to stress to people. I was talking to a lady today. I let her know I'm no smarter than you are. Where I live, the market is no better.
Mm-hmm.
The thing I've done, I've taken some very old information and put it into action. You know, now obviously over the last 10 or 15 years, the internet has allowed it to be more known to a lot of people. But for the most part, you can walk into any Walmart or any mall or something and ask 10 people about wholesaling, and they never, I can guarantee you 9 of them have never heard of it. And the one that may have heard of it, he's still unclear about it. You know what I'm saying? So like you said, you know, that's one of the common questions, you know, why would a buyer need you? Or video cut out. Did it cut out? Okay.
Yeah, it cut out a little bit.
Yeah, the reason they're motivated enough to sell the property at a discount. I don't know what their level of motivation is or why they're motivated. They just are. You know, it could be illness in the family, a divorce, property need too many repairs, tired of being a landlord, child going off to college, all types of reasons. You know, they're just motivated. For a buyer, they just want deals.
Yeah, exactly.
Obviously, they would love to not pay you if they could, but that's why it's important that you leave most of the equity, not most of the good chunk of the equity to them. So it's just a no-brainer. Yeah, I'll pay you 10 grand if I can make 30. You know what I'm saying? So,
oh yeah, all day long. Yeah.
You know, it's just a no-brainer to them. That's why I really stress to students or non-students. In my opinion, now, there's a lot of ways to do this business. Focus on sellers finding the deals. Like your guy said, we're just marketers that real estate is the method that we're getting paid by. But focus on sellers, because that's the hard part. Finding a buyer or giving away money is the way I look at it. That's the easier part of the two. You can always give away money. You know, you don't have the first buyer, but if you go out and find an attractive deal today, oh, you'll get paid. It's just that simple. I don't care where you are. So, but that's the thing, understanding what's an attractive deal. You know, it may seem that it is, but it has to be a smoking deal. You know, each market is different, but it still has to be a deeply discounted deal. So, but yeah, man, I'm glad what you've shown is a level of persistency. Anything else you want to share on that with people that are watching this or that will be watching this in the future on just, I guess, a basic or a way you need to pursue this and understand the simplicity of it. Not saying it's easy, but the simplicity of it and what you need to do to keep, you know, make sure that you do what you need to do to do deals.
Yeah, there's actually you know, I hope this doesn't take too long, but it should just take like 2 minutes. But this one deal that we did over the summertime in particular is a huge story I really wanted to share, because this was from bandit signs. And that's why I was like, man, I got to share this story, because this story of this deal that we did in the summertime is really like probably the top 3 reasons why I think most people don't do deals, especially with wholesaling. And then I'm in the Denver market, and till this day, me and my partner, we get people all the time, other investors going, there's no deals in Denver. You can't get deals at 75% of ARV. Every single deal we've done so far, we've been doing 3 deals a month at least. You know, this month there'll probably be, we're hoping for 3 or 4, but it's been 75% minus repairs every single time, you know, because the level of motivation for the seller, they don't care how you're buying the house. They just care that you're solving the problem, like you said. And that's all that matters to them, is literally if you can solve their problem, they don't care about anything else. They don't even know. Most of them haven't even bought 1 or 2 properties in their life. And the way they did it is not the way we're doing it, you know, so they don't even know. I mean, I have sellers that go, oh, the $10 earnest money, how do I pay that? And I'm just like, that's how much they don't know. I had the past 3 deals we've done. Each seller told me, oh, title company in Denver, okay, how do I deposit $10 to that title company? I'm like, we do that. You know, I was like, what? But that should encourage people right there that, you know, that's how much they don't know. And the deal we got in the summertime, to make it as short as possible, I put out some bandit signs. I put out like about 100 18 by 24 yellow signs. I buy houses, any condition, phone number is what I did. And I got a call from a guy who sounded like he barely spoke English. He was a Mexican guy. My dad speaks Spanish, so luckily for that, because he gave me a call. He said, I have a house for sale. Can you please call me? I called him back. He only spoke enough English to give me the address and what he wanted, what he thought it was worth. And I called my dad and I said, average person would probably be like, I don't know Spanish, I'm going to give up. I could have used Google Translate. I mean, I was thinking of whatever I could do, but luckily I had my dad. I called my dad. I said, can you just please call him and ask him just these basic questions? Your asking price, with property address, beds, bath, whatever. My dad was like, sure, I'll help you out. Gave him a call, got the basic information. I ran the numbers. Me and my dad both went and met with him at the house. And still, my dad translated everything, you know, I mean, but you could, even if you hired a translator for 25 bucks, it's worth it because you never know what you're going to make. And so we were negotiating the deal right there. And my dad knows nothing about real estate. So can you imagine me trying to tell my dad how I'm trying to structure this deal with a 2-page contract while the seller doesn't know? You know, it's like, wow. It was the biggest headache ever. But we spent about 30 minutes. We walked through everything. The seller wanted, the ARV was about 330. It's really banged up. It needed about 40,000 in repairs at least. He wanted 170. I offered 150 cash. We'll pay closing costs. And he was like, okay, I'll go with it. Told my partner about it. You know, we're like, oh, okay, everything's going to be good. We scheduled a 30-day closing. My partner had a business maturity date. He wanted to see how well the business is doing with just me and one of my virtual assistants to see if we can run things on our own while he's gone. So while he was gone, he comes back. You know, we're closing on the 30th of June. Seller out of nowhere says, okay, yeah, I'm glad everything's working out, because we ended up getting a call from a realtor who was the seller's friend, and he was translating for him. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to help him close this deal. And we're like, where did you come from? We're like, oh, snap, it's a realtor. You know, not saying that realtors are bad, you know, they play their part. But I was like, oh, man, you know, he's probably not even going to know what we're doing, because I was assigning it to my partner. And he was like, yeah, the only thing is the seller is okay with selling it to you for 150, but he said you guys were going to give him 3 months to live in the house rent-free so he could find a new place. And I was like, oh my God, this deal is done. You know, I was just thinking in my head, no, don't think anything negative. while my partner was out of town, I had to give him a call, and it was kind of embarrassing because pretty much already assigned it to him. And so give him a call. We're at the closing table while he's on the phone on speakerphone. We're trying to negotiate it. We're like, look, we'll give you 45 days to stay in the house. As a tenant, you have to sign a lease, and you have to at least pay 2 weeks of market rent. Because we went back and forth for like 45 minutes trying to figure out something. We could have gave up. You know, we could have said, oh, man, he wants that. Nope, dead deal. But we're just like, whatever, you know, we just got to make the deal work. This is not ideal, but it's better than losing out on money, you know, and helping the seller. And so long story short, we figured out, okay, well, he'll stay there 45 days, you know, paying 2 weeks market rent. Luckily, he moved out within 30 days. So even though we went through all of that and we could have quit, and that's just me explaining it quickly. That's not even all the details of how stressful it was. Yeah, we put it back on the market because we figured, okay, it's the summertime. We're just going to list it with a friend of ours who's a realtor, my mentor. One of his good friends is a realtor. He put it on the market. We bought it at 150 and we sold it for 250. I think it was actually no, we listed it for 250 and we sold it for 230. And another wholesaler came in and wholesaled it for 240.
Oh,
so
wow.
Not only did we make a huge profit doing no repairs, but even a wholesaler made 10 grand. So like, that just goes to show you that you shouldn't quit just because a problem comes up, because the signing of the contract was easy. All I did was a purchase and sales agreement, gave it to the title company. I already had a buyer. That was my mentor, you know, I'm working with. And he was like, you know, that I'm the acquisitions manager for, and he was like, you know, oh, okay, good deal. We did an assignment of contract, sent the paperwork to the title company. They asked for the payoff statement and what they do, and we set a closing date. That was it. You know, it was the easiest thing in the world, but it's the seller that came up with all of these problems from the start, you know. Fortunately, him knowing Spanish wasn't like, you know, his fault, like as a problem. It was just a problem. I didn't know Spanish. You know, maybe I should brush up on my Spanish, but but you know, we could tap into a whole new market. But you know, it's like I easily could have quit because I have in the past where you know, it's like the number one thing I think people need to understand is the only way you provide value is structuring deals and marketing to find them. You know, number two is follow up. It's like, I think, you know, there's so many times I didn't get a deal is because I know deals fell in my lap from bandit signs, but I think it's because I would make an offer and they would say no, and I'd be like, oh, it's not a deal. But now, I mean, there's been times I've called a seller, the first contact, you know, they'll submit information onto our website, and I would call them 8 or 9 times before getting a hold of them. You have to be ruthless like that. Otherwise, you're going to miss out. You know, and I wasn't thinking like that until this year when I did my first deal and started educating myself more and starting with the basics. You know, your course and what you taught was completely the foundation on making real estate wholesaling simplistic, you know, because a lot of the past people I went to, you know, I won't mention their names, but pretty big gurus, they all were talking about builder buyers list first. And I honestly don't recommend that. If you know that it's going to be a good deal based off a basic formula, there's going to be somebody, you know, that's going to buy it. You know, there always is going to be somebody.
Oh, yeah. You become a marketer on the buyer side, just like the seller side. And the great thing about it, the more attractive the deal is, the more people you're going to call, the more buyers you're going to meet. You know, you can only sell it to one person, but the other people, you'll want to collect their information for a future deal. That's how you build a buyer's list. Your deals build your buyer's list, because even now when people call me and they just start asking me questions, I know they just went through a course. I'm nice because I understand, but a lot of investors, man, they just don't want to hear from you unless you got something to offer them. You know what I'm saying? So I try to stir people away from that, because it can be very discouraging when a guy just goes off on you. You know what I'm saying? What, you just went through a seminar or something, you know, just goes off on, you're going to sound that way to them. I can guarantee you, you know, because you're asking questions that really don't matter to them. Normally, when I look at a deal, and I don't teach this because I want you to learn people to learn the right way. The only thing I need to know is the address, the number of bedrooms in the bath. We're in the South, so I want to know if it was set up for central heating and air, does it still have it, and the price. Everything else is irrelevant. Whether it has a mortgage on the end of that, that'll come out later. You know what I'm saying? But normally, you know, I just need to know the address, the number of bedroom, and bath, and has it ever been set up for central heating and air. I don't tell you to do that now, but I'm just saying that's the way most investors are. You know what I'm saying? Because they'll figure out that price is really the most, because they know, and most of the time they know the area that they're interested in, and they know what houses go for. So the only thing they need to go out there and see, does the price does the repairs justify the price that you're asking? You know what I'm saying? So, you know, then the number of beds do matter, beds and bath matter, because of just 3 bedrooms and higher are more attractive than 2 bedrooms in a lot of markets, not all markets, but a lot of markets. So
yeah, same here. Yeah, same in Denver. And yeah, what you said is, I was just about to say the same thing when it comes to buyers is, you know, I remember when I first started and I was building my buyers list, you know, I remember I had this like questionnaire of like 12 questions, and I would try to go through each one with buyers I made contact with. And I quickly found out that, like you said, all buyers, especially if they're already buying, they know the market. They're not newbies. You know, it's like they know what they're doing. So all they want to know is, the biggest tip I can say to anybody for building a buyer's list is, when you're marketing or when you're doing ghost ads, finding them on Craigslist, Google, whatever, the real estate meetings, just ask them. Just tell them straight up. Don't go into an elevator speech. Just tell them, I'm a wholesaler. Even if you're new, don't be afraid to admit it, whatever. You know, it's their loss if you find a deal. If they don't want to respect that you're new, whatever. Just ask them, you know, hey, I'm a wholesaler, I'm new. You know, I just wanted to know, I see you're a cash buyer. What are you looking for? How much are you willing to pay? And where are you looking?
That's it.
If you just ask those 3 questions, they probably will be impressed that you're even looking out for all they're going to care about. Because there's so many times I sent the deal out to buyers, and I would be like, I would send them the comps, the address. I would give like details about everything of the house, and all of them will tell me, hey, next time I just need to know price and address. That's all I need to know. And I'm just like, God, I embarrassed myself. But it's like what you said, you know, it's like you might look stupid, you might look embarrassed, but at the end of the day, there's a negotiating course I'm studying, and I loved what it said. It said that dumb gets paid. And I was like, man, you know, that kind of sounds counterintuitive, but as I was reading it, it was saying, if you're the investor that plays like, you know, not all the time, but at least when it comes to negotiating, if you play like you don't know 100% of the answers, does it matter if you still get a $6,000 check from an assignment deal? No, because what matters is you're the dumb one. You're the dumb one getting paid. You know, it's like, you know, it's just, I say that, you know, kind of as a joke, but being serious on saying, like, don't, you know, it's like what you always say in your videos, like, people overcomplicate it too much. And I was one of those people. For the longest time, I was so afraid to even put a property under contract because I was scared of making a mistake. I was scared to get sued or something. And honestly, there was a deal like 2 months ago. We made a really big mistake on in price, and mistakes happen. And I had to tell the seller we had to back out, and they were mad at us, but we did it as ethically as we can, you know, within 2 weeks of signing the purchase contract. And that's probably one thing I recommend, you know, you know, people, there's a lot of wholesalers we get here that their deals are terrible. I mean, the numbers don't work, like not even close. I don't even know who's buying these deals. So it's like, I don't recommend trying to be one of those wholesalers that is going to put a property under contract and try to find a sucker, you know, like, oh, I'm just going to find the guy that is ignorant and new because, hey, it's wholesaling. It's like, no, reputation is everything. You know, I'd rather be the guy that's like, You know, like what I tell my partner all the time, I say, like if there's a time, like our transaction coordinator was joking, it was laughing at me because there's a deal where the seller was asking, I think it was like 95,000 for a condo, and I still offered 75. And she was like, 85 probably would have been a good deal. How come you offered 75? I was like, we're not looking for good deals. We're looking for killer deals.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, that's why we're in business to make money today. It's like, and if we can solve it's a business, you know, if we can solve a seller's problem, I mean, you know, we're not trying to steal houses. We're trying to make win-win situations, but at the same time, you know, we're the ones buying. You know, we're the ones putting up a lot of money and taking all the risk, you know. And by we, I'm, you know, speaking because I primarily work with my partner, and since I'm not his employee, you know, because thanks to working with him, I had the opportunity to quit Starbucks in April from deals we were doing. So, you know, it's like, you know, it's pretty, I mean, it's been pretty life-changing since the beginning of this year, just from wholesaling, you know. And, you know, all we're looking for when it comes to deals is fix and flips and buying holds. But, you know, it's like, thanks to wholesaling, it's like you got an blank check for the rest of your life, you know, as long as you know how to find the deals.
Correct. Well, hey, Adam, I don't want to keep you anymore, man. I really appreciate your time. You shared a lot of information. You know, I like to get different angles. It seems like same old stuff, man. Advertise, negotiate, buy, close. You know what I'm saying? But if your phone is not ringing, you're not going to do deals. You know, it's just that simple. So, anything else you want to add before we close out?
You know, it's like, and the reason why, you know, I shared so much and just wanted to talk about, you know, like kind of my story as much as I can is because I just want people out there to know, like, you know, what more motivation if you are someone that was struggling, you know, trying to pay the bills and whatnot, and you're too scared to do it, or you think you're going to make a mistake. I mean, just remember you're going to die one day. I mean, I know that's dramatic, but there's no bigger motivation. I mean, you're going to die one day. So just take the chance, buy Ty's course, he'll explain it simple enough. You know, he's not paying me to say that. And I'm just saying that it was the simplest, you know, it's the simplest course I ever got, you know, as far as explaining how to wholesale and whatnot. And that's how I got my start. And, you know, it's like, just keep it simple. And just don't be scared to make mistakes.
Yeah, man, I'm glad you said that. I obviously I want people to sign up with me, but it's obvious that I don't really care too much about that because I give away all the information on YouTube.
Exactly.
Just take action, man. You know, I'm not the only game in town, you know, whatever, but just take action. That's the main thing that I try to stress to people, you know, because all the knowledge in the world, some people call me, man, sometimes they know more than me, but they never done a deal before. You know what I'm saying? So you know, you know, I'd rather be dumb and doing deals and full of knowledge and not making any money. So
yeah, and you know, my investing partner, he's teaching me how to do subject twos and lease options, and I haven't even picking up a book on those. You know what I mean? It's like, because I'm learning by actually structuring the offers and being like, you know, if I make a mistake on pitching a terms deal or whatever, you know, I mean, I have to learn somehow, and I still haven't picked up a book on either of those subjects. Like, you know, it's like, it's all from just doing it.
Yeah. Well, hey, man, I really appreciate it, man. I'm gonna go ahead and close this out with everyone. Again, thanks to Adam and his time. Don't forget, take advantage of the free stuff that I offer on YouTube. That may be enough for you, but if it's not, you definitely can go to junket101.com and sign up there for the course of the coach. You know, you can get the one-page contract there for free. But again, howtofliphouses.net to get access to the 100 plus videos. You know, you can call or text me 205-492-3425. This is the Flip Man. I'm out. Adam, thanks again. And